This one's wife, Mulroney. I fear Meghan retaliation. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Yesterday, I highlighted a particular problem that a prominent narcissist such as this one's wife will experience. Where that narcissist has mistreated individuals in the fuel matrix, those appliances have the potential to attract the attention of major platforms when they essentially have got information about that narcissist that is problematic for that narcissist. Thus, estranged family members, friends that have been cast to one side, abused spouses, whoever they might have been within the narcissist's fuel matrix, there is a risk because the narcissist is prominent and because of the compartmentalization of the narcissist, whereby they don't think about the collateral consequences, there is a significant risk that at some future point, those who've been abused and mistreated by the narcissist come out of the shadows to deal the dirt, and they have a facilitator ready to give them a platform. Today, I'm providing you with the alternative stance, whereby the individual who was in the fuel matrix of the narcissist is concerned about what the narcissist might do if they were to speak out against them. Ordinarily, if you're dealing with a narcissist who isn't famous or infamous, whilst it is tempting to want to expose them to the world at large, the most effective thing to do is to not do so, because you are continuing to allow the narcissist to impact upon your life, and the ability that you have in terms of exposing them en masse is limited because you won't have access to a major platform. And in effect, it is a significant breach of your no-contact regime to go down that route. It's understandable why you want to expose the narcissist, but actually it works against you for multiple reasons that I've explained in separate videos. If you'd like to learn more about that, you can search out those exposure videos. What about the situation whereby somebody such as Jessica Mulroney may have information that the world would be interested in hearing about, and there are platforms that are ready to allow her to air her grievances? What does she think about the potential for doing so? Well, according to Martin Robinson, writing in the Daily Mail, Jessica Mulroney fears how her powerful former best friend, this one's wife, would react if she wrote a tell-all book, a source has claimed. Ms. Mulroney has reportedly been offered an advance of more than $1 million to publish an account of their relationship. Fairly substantial chunk of money. The Duchess once said that the room stops whenever her friend Jess shows up, but reportedly cut off contact when she became embroiled in an online race row related to Black Lives Matter. That reaction of this one's wife was naturally to try and manage her facade, as she saw that this particular appliance in Jessica Mulroney was problematic with regard to the content of that facade. Miss Mulroney has told the Daily Mail that she would never spill the beans on what happened between them amid reports she was considering a memoir. She declined to comment further, but one source has suggested that she could still be biding her time because she blames the Duchess of Sussex for her toxic public profile. This one's wife still has a lot of eyes and ears in Canada, one insider with links to Jessica's camp said. I suspect Jessica is not sure what to do with what she knows. This one's wife is still pretty powerful, and they have a lot of people in common. She is probably biding her time. She lost her career, but to come after this one's wife could be perceived as being petty and bitter, and could potentially alienate her even more. Accordingly, Jessica Mulroney now states that she isn't going to spill the beans. And the suggestion is that she is concerned by what this one's wife might do. The Daily Mail then explains that it's because of the toxic reach of this one's wife that Jessica Mulroney may not want to speak out. It seems to me that the Daily Mail are trying to encourage Jessica Mulroney to speak out about this one's wife and paint a picture of how this one's wife would retaliate. Naturally, if Jessica Mulroney were to write a memoir and in that memoir detail various things which were problematic for this one's wife, denting the image that this one's wife wants to portray as a pleasant and wonderful person, that naturally threatens this one's wife's need for control. But what would she do about it? Well, potentially, she might threaten legal proceedings, suggesting that what's been stated is defamatory, potentially seeking an injunction to prevent publication, albeit that would be hugely expensive were she to lose, and more likely, she would try and utilise the threat of defamation proceedings to have any unpleasant information removed. That's if she knew about it beforehand. It might be the case that she doesn't have access to such information and only becomes aware of it once it's published. She then still might threaten defamation proceedings if apologies and retractions don't occur. Alternatively, what she would do would be to look to ignore what was said about her, staying in a position of withdrawal, and also assert control indirectly by seeking to smear Jessica Mulroney. It might be the case that certain PR pieces would be placed by this one's wife, smearing the nature of Jessica Mulroney, subtly suggesting that what she's written about is just purely motivated by money and that she's petty and living in the past. And furthermore, and this very much depends upon the extent of this one's wife's influence amongst those in Canada still, that she would smear those individuals to try and influence them to have nothing to do with Jessica Mulroney. It's questionable to what extent that would actually have any impact, given the fact that this one's wife now resides in California and doesn't really bother with those Canadian connections from the information that we know about. Accordingly, the suggestion that Jessica Mulroney is fearful of retaliation might just be something that's being put about as further attempts to demonstrate that this one's wife is thoroughly unpleasant, or to try and get Jessica Mulroney to actually speak out about what she knows. The fact is, she has been badly treated by this one's wife, and as I explained in the video yesterday, that would provide sufficient motivation for her to want to tell the truth of their friendship. She was disengaged from, and she may still well be angered by that behaviour and want to get back at this one's wife. Undoubtedly, this one's wife as a narcissist will have engaged in certain behaviours which Jessica Mulroney has either experienced or witnessed which don't paint this one's wife in a particularly good light. The narcissist always has some form of skeletons in their cupboard, and Jessica Mulroney may well be placed to provide that information, which then causes a problem for this one's wife. But it is interesting that if this article is accurate, that it shows that notwithstanding the fact that they've had nothing to do with one another for a number of years, that apparently Jessica Mulroney is still fearful of what this one's wife might actually do to her if she was to speak out against her. And this, of course, is something that narcissists rely upon, your fear of what the narcissist might do. In many instances, this actual fear is far greater than what will actually occur. Yes, it's certainly the case that there are certain narcissists that would look to crush you, but most don't for reasons that I've explained in separate videos. And in actual fact, your fear of what the narcissist will do is accentuated by saber rattling from the narcissist themselves, their grandiosity, the effect of your emotional thinking, and a lack of understanding about how narcissists truly operate. Accordingly, we have on the one hand the suggestion that Jessica Mulroney is ready to dish the dirt on this one's wife as a disengaged from non-intimate secondary source, and now the suggestion is that she's fearful of doing so because she fears what this one's wife might do and therefore is going to keep her silence. It'll be interesting to see which direction this saga goes next. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.